How's it going, everybody? This is Jason Ostrowski, and welcome to another edition of the Everything Real Estate Podcast. Today, we're going to switch things up a bit, and we want to say thank you to all of those that are serving, have served, or have had family members in the military, and we wanted to tie that into how that relates to real estate. And who better to do that than my guest today? Her name is Catherine "Cat" Warner. She is with BHHS Chicago out of the Naperville office. She is a veteran, she is a Marine, and I'm pretty sure that she's tougher than you and me. And as Cat's tagline says, she is continuing to serve by helping her military clients find their next dream home, to give them the advice that they need, or to help out wherever and whenever she is needed. Her story is inspirational, and she is an expert on all things military in relation to real estate. So let's get right into it with Kat, and we'll pick it up on the other side. I am here with Catherine Warner today, known as Kat. I do want to say that because she's got a very, very cool nickname. So, Kat, you are out in BHHS Chicago and in the town of Naperville. And Naperville, actually, my wife's parents actually worked in Naperville for a while. So I am familiar with the town, love Chicago. So how are you today, Kat?
Well, hi, Jason. Thank you so much for having me. I feel really honored to be on your podcast today. I am doing great. It's really cold here, so I have my coffee and I'm ready to roll.
You and I are both sequestered and warm and cozy for this podcast, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
So I wanted to start off first by saying, our topic today is going to be about, number one, being grateful for your service, but number two, about how your service ties into your business as well. And the reason why I think you have a great story to tell is because I don't think that we often see, as realtors or just the general public, the behind the scenes when it comes to working with military families, being in the military itself, and how that may differ from just traditionally working with, your standard buyer or seller. And so I think it's great information, but it's also great talking to you. You're very inspirational. We were talking about your time in Japan before we came on today. Is very cool. First question to you, starting off, what prompted you to join the Marines? Because the Marines are hardcore, so what prompted you to want to join the Marines, and how long did you serve in the Marines?
So my story's pretty cool. So I was 17 when I went to college, and, school really wasn't for me. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was a waitress at the time, and I was going to school, and my family was kind of like, what degree do you want to do? What do you want to do for school? And I just was like, I don't know. And so I had a lot of friends who joined the military, and I came from a big Navy family. We had one Marine in the family, but all my grandpas were in the Navy. So I decided to join the Navy. And I was about 2 weeks out from leaving for boot camp, and I was running around the track doing physical training. And there was a guy running with me, and I was chatting him up. He was going to a branch. I was going to a different branch. So I was like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going into the Marine Corps. And I go, that is so cool. That's really tough. And he goes, where are you going? I was like, I'm joining the Navy. And he goes, oh, that makes sense. And I was like, well, why does that make sense? And he's like, all women go into the Navy. And I go, well, some go into the Marine Corps too. And he goes, yeah, but some of them don't make it. It's too hard for women. And I go, okay. So I beelined it because I was 18 at the time. And I beelined it for the Marine Corps office. And I said, here's the thing. I'm joining in 2 weeks. I just got told that I can't make it in the Marine Corps. I want to be a Marine. And I literally became a Marine. I saw the guy when I graduated from boot camp. And that is why I joined the Marine Corps, and I was in for 8 years.
I love that story because I can totally relate to you. If somebody tells me that I can't do anything, then I'm going to do it. I am positive that he is eating his words right now. So
I'm sure.
So that's awesome. So then, we were talking about, you were stationed overseas, you kind of go from location to location. You're in the military for 8 years, and then you get out, and lo and behold, you get into real estate. Did you get into real estate right away once you came back?
No.
Kind of, how did things go?
So I was in active duty, and when I got out, I went to the reserve unit in Oregon so I could get back home. I was a single mom, and being a single mom in the military was really hard with 2 kids. I was gone in the field, or I had 24-hour duties. So it was really difficult. So I came back, I joined the reserve unit so I could be closer to home and have some more support with my family. And then once I was done with the reserve unit, I went to school, and I worked at the VA office there. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I still wanted to help people. So I was actually going to get my EMT for firefighting, because for me, helping people, I assumed you had to be in uniform. Mm-hmm. Being in uniform meant you help people, and that's what I wanted to do. So I was going to be a firefighter. Then I decided I'll be a police officer. So I was kind of going back and forth, teeter-tottering. And I overheard, people in the office talk about, I want to buy a house. I don't know my benefits. And I was like, I know your benefits. Let's talk. And that's why we were there, to help all these students, all these veterans coming in with their benefits. And I ended up helping them more with their house benefits, which are so different now, than with like school benefits, because that's where they wanted to go with their life, was to buy a home. And having growing up with my mom in real estate, who is now, her name's Rosalie Warner. She's now the senior vice president of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. So that's really cool. Her opinion meant the world to me. So I brought it up to her. I said, what do you think about me doing real estate? And she lit up. She was like, you would be fantastic. And I was like, but I want to make sure I'm still helping people. And my mom goes, you can still continue to serve while you're doing real estate. And I since then I have helped so many veterans, and it makes my day. And that's why I got into real estate. And I wanted to do real estate, but I just assumed I had to be in uniform to help people. And that's not the case at all.
I'm sure your clients are very, very grateful that you did get into real estate. And I know helping military veterans is a little bit different. We're going to get into that. But you and I are both second generation realtors. So, my mom growing up drugged me everywhere, open houses, showings. I hated real estate with an absolute passion growing up. I got to tell you, being a kid that was, 11 years old and forced to sit in a car while, right. Showings are going on. You can imagine, your schedule is hectic. You don't get it as a kid,
Right.
And as I got older, I got into catering and quickly realized that I was completely useless when it came to catering. And I needed a career change at some point. So you were in the military, you kind of, worked your way over to the real estate side by helping people. For me, I was just really bad at putting together fruit trays and, making hoagies and stuff. And it was terrible. So got into real estate. And then finally, my mom was on my case all the time to get my real estate license growing up, like constantly. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then finally I get my license, and she's like, are you sure you don't want to be a doctor? Like, why do you want to get into real estate? I'm like, are you serious? You've been on my case forever to get into real estate. So anyway, the rest is history. So we are both second generation realtors. And, I think the funny thing is that, one of my questions to you is, so you're in the military, it's very regimented. Obviously, you're used to structure, you're used to organization. You get into real estate, which often is like complete chaos. It's just a complete mess, and you have to deal with this and that, and acute problems that pop up, and it's anything but structured a lot of times. So how has that transition been for you, getting into the real estate side from the military? I'm sure there's habits and things that you bring over from the military to your career. You were saying you got up at 5 this morning, which you're a better person than I am. I don't even know why it exists on a clock. So anyway, how has that transition been for you?
Well, so when you go into the military, you have it all laid out for you, what your job is, what you're doing, everything. You're told what to do. You don't have time to think, because you're at 4 or 5 a.m., you're at PT. Then you change, you're at the shop, you're working, you're doing all these things. Then you have chow for 30 minutes and then you're back at work. And you only have a few hours of the day to really be like, okay, what do I want to do with my time? And then when I got into real estate, I'm like, okay, I have to decide everything for myself. I really got to get going. A lot that I took over from the military was that structure. I still try to stay on that. I get up early, I get my things done. I have to have a plan during the day, or that chaos really sets in and then I get a little bit stressed. But I will say the military helped me a lot because I'm able to control that stress and I'm able to kind of work around it. It is a little bit difficult, I will say, only because, if I'm not out there working, it's not going to happen for me. And in the military, it happened for me. I was told what to do, and out here I have to tell myself what to do. So it's a little different.
Yeah. I could see that being very different, at least to start, but I think you fall back on what you know, right? And what you learn. And so a lot of what you've learned in the military now, I'm sure you're bringing to your career in real estate, which is really helping you. So, all right. So being in the military, firsthand how it can be from moving from base to base or location to location. As I mentioned before, you were in Japan. You were telling me the story. You went over to Japan as a single woman. You come back with 2 children. You're basically coming from one side of the world to the other. And obviously you've made other moves, but can you share the story of being a single mom with 2 kids? And, I caught you on a forum with Teresa Palacio Smith, and you were talking about how you had to live in a hotel with your 2 kids for a month, which is crazy. And, how that relates to your real estate career now and wanting to help your fellow veterans coming out of military service and looking to own a home. How does that affect you? And can you talk a little bit about your own personal story and how it relates to real estate?
Yeah. So to kind of give you an example, so when we lived in Japan and we were on base, when I moved there by myself, I moved right into the barracks. So I had a room ready. They told me, this is where you're sleeping, so I had that ready to go. When I had my kids, I was able to move to a tower on base, which is just a really tall apartment building. And then when I left and I finished my career in California, I only had about 5 months left. When I left the island, they told me, you're going to California, you're going to rate on base housing. You check in, they have a house ready for you. Great. It sounded fantastic. So all of my stuff is on a ship getting to me in a month, but I'm getting there in 11 hours with nothing but what's in our bags. So I check into a hotel. I go to on-base housing. They tell me, you only have 5 months left. You don't rate on-base housing. We can't help you. So I'm stuck. The kids and I are living in a hotel on base, and I don't know where to go. I don't know. I haven't lived off base in years. And when in Japan, it was a very secluded base, and I was protected by a fence. And now I have to go live off base that I haven't done in years. So it was really hard for me and my kids. I didn't have daycare set up for them. Daycare wasn't available for 6 months. There was nothing, a slot open. So then I had to find care for them so I could work. And it was really hard for me. I found a little apartment off base, but I didn't have any help. I asked a lot of my coworkers, but they all lived on base. So they were like, I don't know, check out these apartments. And so that was really hard for me because I hadn't paid utilities. I know that sounds crazy, but we didn't get utility bills. We didn't have to find a doctor. They said, this is your doctor, this is your dentist kind of thing. And now I have to pay utilities. I have to pay rent. I got to figure all that out, which when I left, I didn't have to do any of that stuff. And so it was really stressful for me. And why I help people, and I help them even beyond finding a home, is because I never want somebody to get out or move from a place, especially from another country, and ever feel lost or alone and have to go through what I did mentally, because that was so rough. And so I help everybody, even if, they know what to do with the home, but they don't know where the VA hospital is, or they have this insurance now and they need to find a doctor. Like I help them beyond finding a home because I mean, it is mentally really, really hard getting out of the military into the civilian life, and it can be very scary.
And you just led me into actually a side question that I was going to ask you. What's different about being a realtor with many military clients, and how are they different? And I think you just pretty much said that, right? I mean, you kind of went into all of that. And I think that leads me into another question is that, or I should say, your tagline in your email signature, right, is continuing to serve. And I think you just very much explained why you're putting that continuing to serve in your email signature. But I know that defines not only your business, but defines you to a large extent, right? And what you're all about. So what does it mean to you, and how does it inspire you in your day-to-day life to have that tagline continuing to serve? Because it seems like you live by that.
I do. I use it on everything. I want to drill it into people because I'm known from a lot of my clients. I mean, I help them move out of their house. I'll help them move into their house. I'll grab my car and load up their stuff in there and help them. And I'm known as the forever agent, kind of. And that's because I don't stop when there's closing. I have clients still calling me going, hey, I just moved here. Do you by chance know where the VA hospital is? I don't even live in that state, and I still help them, find that hospital. And a lot of what I did in the military was a lot of charity work. And I went to schools and I did cleanups over in Japan whenever there was a storm. And so that's why I wanted to help when I got out too. And that's also continuing to serve is I don't just sell homes to people or help them buy homes. If they need me, I go out and I go beyond just what my title is. And I want people to understand that. And something else I just wanted to kind of make known is when I say that like we get told what to do and where to be, I'm serious. Like when we check into a base, we get a list and and somebody takes our hand and they walk us everywhere and they go, okay, we found you a doctor, done. We found you and this is all in one day. We found you a dentist, done. You have glasses. We found you an eye doctor, all those things. And then when you come out here, you don't have that and you don't have somebody to take your arm, but I do. And I will take their arm and I will drive them everywhere if they need to. So that's kind of why I have that and I live by it.
You know what? I think the most impressive people in real estate have that mentality to serve, right? Because I do think whether you're talking about you with your military veterans, knowing what they went through, empathizing, and just helping, right? I also think, just realtors in general, those that look to help people first tend to have the most successful careers because they are the forever agents, that you spoke of. And I think I always said to any of my agents or any of my mentees that if you're out to help people first, the money will come, the success will come. Right. So let's start by just helping people. And, you were talking earlier about, potentially being a police officer or being an EMT, but it is so important. I think what we do. And I think a lot of people in the public tend to think, realtors are a dime a dozen. Well, no, we're not. I think, what we do is vitally important for people and especially on the helping side. And I just want to say thank you for what you're doing because it's really cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, all right. So as I mentioned before, I heard you speak on the Women Who Lead Forum with Teresa Palacio-Smith about dispelling the myths about VA loans and VA buyers, because I do think in terms of experiences, at least where we are, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, around the Philly metro area, some places, New York metro area, we don't deal with a ton of VA loans. I know personally, I don't. I'm sure there are more VA loans in different places around the country that have more of a military base or tradition to it. But just if I'm a typical agent, what advice would you give any listing agents who may not know much about, say, you get an offer with a VA loan and may have some apprehension about correctly advising their clients when it comes to VA loans, because there's certain restrictions, just like with FHA or any other government loan. What would you say about VA loans and dispel any myths about VA loans?
So the first thing I would say is kindly get educated. Because I take courses all the time. I mean, all the time, because VA loans are changing fast and they are changing a lot. There was, you couldn't use your VA loan more than once, and now you can. There are, some stipulations with that, and, lenders can help with that, but it's changing so fast. There's no more cap with VA loans. And so I think listing agents can help their sellers best understand, because sellers are a little scared about it, but that is our job, to inform them of VA loans and that it's not scary. And I think the sad part is I see a good home and I look at the financial spot and I don't see VA loan on there. And then I have to call and go, can you accept a VA loan? If not, why? Why won't you accept the VA loan? And I've had to talk to listing agents and talk with them, have them talk with our lender who specializes in that, and tell them, just because it's zero down on that line doesn't mean that the buyer isn't financially stable. And that's the hard part is, that's their benefit. They served their country. That is a benefit that they deserve and they can use. And so I think that listing agents really just need to be educated, as well as buying agents, because VA loans are really tricky. Another myth that I'd like to just kind of point out is a lot of people think they take longer to close. And actually they can take less than 30 days and just as long as a conventional and FHA loan.
And I've had some incredibly strong VA buyers, and a lot of times the process that they go through, it's almost like a pre-approval.
Right. It's very easy to qualify for too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the biggest thing was way back when I was a new agent and I had a listing, and I'll bring this up, is that when it came to the termite, right?
Yes.
So can you explain and that was going to be my next question, just for a newer agent who has never worked with a VA buyer before, what are the most important aspects? What should they look out for when it comes to a VA loan, and just kind of some specifics about the loan that maybe is a little different from a conventional?
For a buyer's agent?
Yeah, or for a seller agent, like what to look out for?
Well, the inspection is very, it's a lot longer. There's more of an inspection. The termite that you were talking about, there's more in depth of what the conventional and FHA do than the VA loan. But a lot of people, even that, that can be always negotiated and kind of talked about. I've had so many VA buyers that need that and nothing ever comes about it. And even when something does come about it, they negotiate it really well into the price or a credit at closing or anything like that. It's never an issue as long as you're educated and you know how to talk about it. Another thing that people are afraid of are appraisals, and that shouldn't be anything to really be afraid of as long as you are educated and you know what you were talking about.
Yep. I totally agree. And I think, for anybody out there that wants to know more information, just go to your lender. There's
classes everywhere. Lending. Yes.
Absolutely. All right. So I'm going to hit you with an offbeat question here. Okay. So being that you're a Marine and Marines are super tough, is there anything that frightens you when it comes to real estate, or maybe real estate marketing? Everyone has something that they know they should be doing. Maybe it's outside of their comfort zone. They don't feel comfortable doing that. Is there anything that frightens you to do in real estate?
Helping my clients is the only thing I don't feel scared to do. Even if there's something new that comes along, I'm so good at asking questions. I will ask questions till I'm blue in the face to help my client. But marketing is the scariest thing for me because, I'm great in person. I'm great doing this. I go door knocking out here because I'm still trying to meet more people. I do. I go door knocking. That's our Joe Stacy, our principal broker, has drilled that into our heads. He is fantastic. I will go door knocking I won't knock on the door. I will hang and run. And I get so nervous, but now I force myself to stay there and go, hi, I'm Catherine Warner. I have an open house, or I'm a neighbor. I live down the street, or whatever I'm doing that day to door knock. I've been doing that. And I actually just got a new client recently from doing that. So that's something I've been pushing myself to do, is because once I do it, I really thrive in person. Something else I kind of am trying to get out there to do are live videos. Social media is huge right now from what I hear. And so I'm trying to get on video more to be like, hi, good morning, it's snowing, or I'm doing an open house and check out this house, and do walkthrough on live. And I'll do it and I will delete it. And then I will never post it. And I have my camera feed is full of things that I haven't posted because I get so nervous. But I have such an amazing team out here of agents, and we push each other to make reels. And I won't even think about it. I'll make it post before I can even think.
Yep. Yeah. I recently started, and from the advice of someone that I work with, that I need to get out more reels, and I need to, obviously we talk about video a lot on the podcast, and I don't want to beat, a horse to death, but I think everybody's in that same boat, right? I've seen some of your TikToks where you're doing the lip syncing and all that stuff. So I don't know what you're talking about. They're good. They're good.
You know, it's because I don't think. I just post it and then I'm like, it's okay.
You just got to do it, right? I mean, so much of what we do is just got to do it. I mean, at one point in time, I'm sure video is kind of akin to door knocking, right? That
yes.
I went door knocking several times in my career. I will say it did not go that well. I remember specifically one time this woman was coming out of her house and I'm walking up her driveway, and I think she thought that I was trying to like do a home invasion, and you're stuck in that middle ground of like, do I just turn and walk away? Do I say something? So I was like, all right, my door knocking days are over. I
was so nervous in the beginning that I saw somebody getting in their car and I waited. And then when they left, I hung my door hanger and walked away. I was so nervous to talk to them, but I find it easier. I door hang for all of my open houses. And then I just say, hi, I'm just here. I'm doing an open house. Come on by. Let your friends know. I feel like that's easier than being like, hi, I'm a realtor and I live in your neighborhood. And if you need me, call me. I can do open houses. The other one I'm still working on, but.
That's a great idea, though. I want to follow up on that. So if you have an open house, you're saying that you put kind of like the door knocker hangers on.
I do. I make my door hangers on Canva.
Yeah. Love Canva.
And then we print them at our office, and I will do 100, and I will just, the street that the house is on, I will go and hang them on the doors, and I'll knock if they're home, and I'll just let them know down the street, this house, I'm doing an open house on this time, this day. And if you know anybody looking to move into the neighborhood, tell them to come on by. And then that way, I've actually had people come over and go, hey, I saw you came to my house. I wanted to see the house. Or this is my friend I told you about, and they actually came. And I've sold one house by doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun. And then this way you can actually see the neighborhood too. And you can meet the neighbors. And so if somebody comes in, you can be like, hey, there's a family too that lives down the street. You have kids, they have kids by the house,
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I love that idea because, a lot of people talk about that when they have an open house, maybe they'll call the neighbors, they'll get a phone list, or they'll knock on the doors, tell them that there's going to be an open house. But I think for people that are uncomfortable, maybe like knocking on the door, doing the door hangers is actually a great idea. Okay. I like that a lot. So do you typically go out like say the day beforehand, or do you do that like the morning of, or?
I will do it on Thursdays.
Okay.
Thursdays, it gives them enough time. It's not too early for them to forget. Yeah.
That's a great idea. And being that you're relatively new to the area that you live in now in Naperville or around Naperville, I think that's a great way to meet new people. That's awesome. Well, thank you for that.
Of course. And I also, so I live in an apartment building, and we have a washer and dryer in our unit, but we also have a community one downstairs. And so I kind of saw that as an opportunity to meet people and have people know that they have a realtor living right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will go down there and do my laundry and just kind of hang out. And when people come, I'll talk to them, and either I'll have like a realtor swag or something on for people to be like, hey, I'm thinking about buying, or,
Yeah.
So I'll do that from time to time.
That's really cool. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I've done recently, and I still have to figure out how to use this, is that, so you know how, well, maybe you do or you don't. I don't know if a lot of people use them out your way, but QR codes have come back around again.
They're big right now.
And so I have all these QR code stickers, and I'm trying to think of like creative ways to use these things. So I'm thinking, as you're thinking about like this laundry thing, I'm like, can I put a sticker on the washing machine? Would I get in trouble for that? You know what I mean?
Just kind of stick it on all the doors, maybe. Yeah. I have a friend that puts a QR code on her door hangers.
Oh, see, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, it's kind of traditional ways of marketing mixed with new ways of marketing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. All right. So we got a little bit off topic, but that's a really cool idea that
yes.
you take advantage of. All right. So last question that I want to ask you. Now I know that you are a proud Oregonian. All right. And I've always wanted to go to Oregon. It looks like one of the most beautiful states in the country. And I'm not saying that just because you're on here. I've always wanted to go. So you have to settle this for me. If I'm going from, obviously Philly to Oregon, which is, a fair amount of travel. Yes. Where am I going first? Am I going to see Mount Hood, or am I going to Cannon Beach, which looks like an alien world to me, if anybody's familiar? Or am I going to Crater Lake? Where am I going first? Because I'm going to all three, but where am I going first?
Well, one, I want to say thank you for saying it correctly. Everyone out here says Oregon.
Oh, okay.
And I don't correct them because I'm kind of liking it. It's different. So good job for that. So where I lived, I was in Beaverton. I was over an hour from the coast, which is what we call our beach, because it's not very warm. It's kind of cold. It's very windy. So it's like a coast. And then I was over an hour from Mount Hood. So I know that you like to go hiking. You like to go and be outdoors. Yeah. Oregon is the place to be. I would say Mount Hood, then the coast, then Crater Lake. But you can get everything together if you go to Central Oregon in Bend, Oregon, and Sun River. They have, mountain lines that look like it was painted in the sky, craft breweries, coffee, hikes, climbs, rafting, everything you can imagine. It's my favorite place to be.
Oh my God. Sounds like I should be there tomorrow. It's like everything that I love in life is centered.
It's my home away from home.
That's really awesome. So, do you get a chance to go back often now?
I go back a lot.
Do you?
Yes, I go back a lot because it's just a straight shot to Portland.
Yeah.
And so I can go back a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to get there at some point soon. But thank you for settling that for me, because I just look at pictures like on my phone all the time. Like I'm one of those weird like travel people where I'll just sit and, like obsess about trying to get.
Well, if you love waterfalls, we have so many, especially in the gorge, which is very close to Mount Hood. So that area is breathtaking.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Well, listen, Kat, I really enjoyed our time today. It was a pleasure to get to know you a little bit. Are you going to be at convention this year? Are you going out there?
I am. I already got my ticket. I'm ready.
All right. Well, then you and I will meet at convention face to face. And I want to thank you again for your service. I want to thank you for giving us some insight on the mindset of military, veteran buyers out there, sellers out there, and kind of what they go through on a day-to-day basis, and especially when it comes to relating to real estate and their purchasing. So I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to meet you in person.
All right. Sounds good, Kat. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
It was very cool getting to know Kat a little bit, learn a little bit about what she does, how she serves her military clientele, and her story is very inspirational. Here's a couple of takeaways that I had from my conversation with Catherine Warner. Number one, I think this is the biggest thing when it comes to helping our military clientele, is that do your research and be prepared. And that means learn about VA loans, learn about their experiences in the military and how we can best help them along, get to where they want to go and accomplish the dream of home ownership. But it's being prepared for your clients. It's about doing the work and being the expert advisor that they need. Number two, we all know that the military is very regimented in the way that they go about things, but what I didn't know and found out through talking to Kat was that they take care of many aspects of your day-to-day life, so you don't have to worry about that when you're in the military. So when you actually get out of the military, it's kind of a scary thing to have to take care of the day-to-day things that you never thought about before. So keep that in mind when you're working with your military clients. You may need to go above and beyond to help them find what they need out there in the world outside of real estate in order to help them properly. Your military clients will appreciate you for it. And last but not least, I want to say a big thank you to Kat and to all of you that are listening right now that have served in the military, continue to serve in the military, or have had family that have served in the military. We are forever grateful for your service to our country. It takes a whole heck of a lot of toughness to be in the military, to protect our freedoms, to protect the way that we live every day. And we want to thank you and tell you how grateful we are for everything that you do. Well, that's it for the podcast this week. We will be back in another couple of weeks with a new topic, a new guest. And as always, if you want to hear something in particular that we haven't covered yet, please reach out to me, jason.ostrowski@foxroach.com. And if you haven't subscribed to our podcast yet or haven't left us a review, please do so. It helps us to reach more people. And before I get out of here this week, I want to send a special shout out to the Fit Fox tribe out there. All of you are inspiring me to get into better shape and get healthier. So if you are a Fox and Roach agent, you want to join the Fit Fox tribe, please let me know and I will make sure that you get an invite to the group. And until next time, this is Jason Ostrowski saying stay safe out there, stay selling, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Everything Real Estate Podcast.